Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a 6 Samurai deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is an extremely powerful deck that can loop through its resources practically infinitely with the Gateway to the 6, which is one of the most broken spell cards ever created. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check the Patreon in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Again, your name is description every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of 6 Samurai Kizan. Kizan is one of the most powerful cards in the entire deck, because this card can special summon itself from your hand. And if you control a 6 Samurai monster with a different name, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is an insane ability because it'll make your copy of Gateway to the 6 go off and generate counters, which is amazing. And when you control 2 or more 6 Samurai monsters, this card gains 300 attack and defense points, pushing this card up to 2100 attack points, which is really good to be able to attack for game. We then play 2 copies of Kizaru. Kizaru is definitely a 2-of in this build and helps out a lot in this deck because it's a searcher that when this card is special summoned, you can actually add from your deck to your hand 1 6 Samurai monster with a different attribute from every monster that you control, which is a really cool ability to be able to search out the exact cards that you need. We then play 2 copies of 6 Samurai Mizuho. Mizuho is great in this deck to help you loop through your resources, because if you control a copy of Shinai, you can special summon this card from your hand, and once per turn you can tribute another face-up 6 Samurai monster to target 1 card on the field and destroy that target. We then play 2 copies of Shinai. Shinai is great in the deck to go with our 2 copies of Mizuho, because these cards actually work together insanely well to loop through your resources, because if you control a copy of Mizuho, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if this card on the field is tributed, you can target a 6 Samurai monster in the graveyard, except your copy of Shinai, and add it to your hand to get you more resources. We then play 3 copies of Kaigeki. Kaigeki is amazing in this build as a normal summon because it helps you get 2 monsters on your side of the field so we can link summon into our 6 Samurai Link monster. And this card is the ability, when this card is normal summoned, you can actually special summon a level 4 or lower 6 Samurai monster from your hand, and while you control a face-up 6 Samurai monster with a different name, this card gains 1500 attack points, boosting it to 1700, which is a really cool effect. We then play 2 copies of Fuma, which is actually a tuna. This card is great in the deck to help you synchro summon, being a level 1 tuner monster that's very easy to put on your side of the field. It's just a really good card overall in the deck. We then play a single copy of Hatsume. Hatsume is great in this build because it does have 1600 attack points, which works really well with our copy of her Mizuho. But this card is the ability you can actually banish 2 6 Samurai monsters from your grave and or face up from your side of the field, and then target a 6 Samurai monster in your graveyard, except a copy of Hatsume, and special summon it, which is a really cool effect just to be able to bring back one of your 6 Samurais to the field. We then play a single copy of Legendary Secret of the 6 Samurai. I feel like this card is just a good 1-of in the build, just as a good extender, is when you normal or special summon a secret 6 Samurai monster, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is a great ability because if you summon out your copy of your Fuma, Hatsume, or your Kizaru, you can actually just put this card out on your side of the field, which helps out a lot in the deck. We then play a single copy of Zanji. Zanji is really good in the deck for a copy of Asceticism. Since we don't have a Zold anymore, I kind of went back to the Asceticism plays. And this card is great to be able to work with your copy of your Kizan with your copy of Zanji. And this card has the ability at the end of the damage step, if this card attacked, destroy the monster this card attacked, but you must control another 6 Samurai monster with a different name to activate and resolve this effect, which is a really cool effect. And I really like this old school 6 Samurai card because I've been playing this card for a very long time. And it's really cool to actually put this card back into the deck because it's one of the original 6 Samurai cards that were released for this deck. We then play a single copy of Grandmaster of the 6. Grandmaster is really good in this build as a 1-of, but you can only control 1 copy of it, which is why I just play a single copy in the build. But this card is a great ability also that if this card in your possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can target a 6 Samurai monster in your grave and add it back to your hand. But this card also has the ability that if you control a 6 Samurai monster, you can instantly special summon this card to your side of the field. We then play a single copy of Great Shogun Sheen. Great Shogun Sheen is great because because this card has the ability to control 2 or more 6 samurai monsters. You can just instantly special summon this card in your hand, and it helps lock down your opponent because it has the ability that if this card would be destroyed, you can destroy a face-up 6 samurai monster you control instead. But while this card's on your side of the field, your opponent can only activate 1 spell or trap card each turn, which basically locks down your opponent, which is so cool. We then play a single copy of Xian Squire. Xian Squire is an Earth level 1 tuner, which is why we play this card in the build to help us go in for a copy of Naturia Beast or Naturia Barkion, which is just really good in this deck because I have some surprise tech cards in the deck, and this card is extremely important in the deck and probably one of the most important cards in the entire build because it is an Earth tuner. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Rhoda. Rhoda is really good as a one-of in the build just to get to the exact 6 samurai monster that you need. We then play a single copy of Monster Reborn. This card is great just to extend your plays to be able to get a 6 samurai back on your side of the field. We then play a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is an amazing one-of in the deck just to prevent your opponent from hand-trapping you while you're going in for all of your plays. We then play a single copy of Gateway of the Six. Gateway of the 6 is hands down one of the most broken spell cards ever created, and it has the ability each time a 6 samurai monster is normal or special summon, you place a counter on this card. And you remove counters from your side of the field to activate one of these effects. If you remove 2 counters, you can target a 6 samurai monster or a Xian effect monster, and that target gains 500 attack until the end of the turn. You remove 4 counters to add a 6 samurai monster from your deck or your graveyard to your hand, which is how you loop through your resources over and over again. It's actually the main way you're going to be using this card is to remove 4 counters from your side of the field, or if you remove 6 counters, you get to target a Xian effect monster in your grave and special summon that target, which is a pretty good effect to be able to work with our copy of our Xian Squire. But this card is great in the deck to be able to play as a one-of because it's currently still at 1, and I don't ever think this card is ever going to come back to more than 1, but it's still really good in this build. We then play a single copy of Temple of the Six. Temple of the Six is in the deck as a one-of because you do want more cards in the deck that can actually hold counters, and this card is just really good to be able to hold an infinite amount of counters because each time a 6 samurai monster is normal or special summon, you place a Bushido counter on this card, and monsters that your opponent control lose 100 attack for each Bushido counter on this card, which can be a lot of counters really quickly to be able to reduce your opponent's attack points down really low so that you can swing in for game. We then play 3 copies of Xian's Dojo. Xian's Dojo is really cool because this card helps you summon out your 6 samurai monsters, and has the ability each time a 6 samurai monster is normal or special summon, you place a Bushido counter on this card, and you can send this card to the grave to special summon any 6 samurai or Xian effect monster from your deck whose level is less than or equal to the number of Bushido counters on this card, but it's still really good because it can basically hold an infinite number of counters on this card, which is just really nice to be able to instantly get counters on this card so you can start removing them with your copy of Gateway to the Six. We then play 3 copies of 6 Samurai United. United is great in this build. This card is insane because it has the effect that each time a 6 Samurai monster is normal or special summon, you place a Bushido counter on this card, but it has a maximum of 2 counters that you can actually put on this card because it has the effect that you can send this card to the grave to draw a card for each Bushido counter on this card, meaning this card is basically like Pot of Greed to let you draw 2 cards, which is amazing. This card is so powerful in the deck and just helps out a lot overall in the build, just to help you dig into the deck, but also hold counters that you can remove with your copy of Gateway to the Six so you can keep generating them, which is really nice. Something important about this card is if you're trying to loop through your resources, make sure you remove the counters from this card so that you can be able to put more counters on it over and over again, which is just really nice. We then play 3 copies of Xian Smoke Signal. Smoke Signal is really good because this card is like 3 more copies of Rhoda for the deck, because it has the ability to let you add a level 3 or lower 6 samurai monster from your deck to your hand, which is really important to be able to get to the exact one that you need. It unfortunately only adds level 3 or lower, but it's still really good in the deck to help you get to your copy of Shinai or Mizuho. We then play 3 copies of Asceticism of the Sixth Samurai. Asceticism is really good in this build because it helps you get 2 monsters out on your side of the field, because if you have a monster on your side of the field, you can target a 6 Samurai monster you control to special summon a 6 Samurai monster from your deck with the same attack but a different name, and if you do destroy it during the end phase of this turn. But it's basically like E-Telly for the deck, and for this build, since we don't have a Zold anymore, it's really important to go in for our Link 2. So this card is great in the deck to be able to just get 2 monsters on your side of the field by normal summoning 1, and then using this card to get an additional 1 out on your side of the field, because there's a lot of cards in this deck that actually give you that bridge to be able to get 2 monsters on your side of the field. As long as they have the same attack points, it's very easy to do, and this card is just amazing in the build overall to be able to get another monster on the field so that you can go in for your Link 2. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get in to the traps. So for the traps, we're just going to be playing 3, and that's going to be 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. Now, the reason I'm playing Solemn Judgment at 3 in the deck is because we're basically trying to establish an unbreakable board in this deck, and you really just don't want to get hit with like counter, or you don't want to get hit with like anything that can break the board. So this card helps out a lot to stop those cards, because when a monster would be summoned or a spell trap card is activated, pay half your life points to negate the summon or activation if you destroy that card. So this card can respond to a lot of different cards to be able to just stop your opponent from dealing with your field, like cards like Dark Ruler and no more. This card can basically just stop it in its tracks, which is very important to be able to stop cards like that, and this card helps out a lot for that reason, which is really, really nice, making this card a great 3-of in the build to just say no to anything, especially with how deep this deck just digs into the deck with cards like Yugioh. You can easily get to this card, set it to your side of the field, establish basically an unbreakable board, and back it up with a Solemn Judgment to make sure that you're going to be able to say no to everything. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get in to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start with a single copy of Legendary 6 Samurai, Xian. Xian is a walking spell trap negate, and this card is just amazing to be able to summon out to your side of the field. It's a really cool card, and basically our main boss monster we're trying to get out on the field because it is a spell trap negate. We then play a single copy of Naturia Barkion. Naturia Barkion is great because this card is a trap negate, but we're also using this card to be able to fusion summon. So this card is great to be able to put on your side of the field. We then play a single copy of Naturia Beast. Naturia Beast is a spell negate, which is great to be able to put on your side of the field, but again, we're using this card to be able to fusion summon. We then play a single copy of Naturia Exterio. We can fusion summon into this card using Proxy F Magician, which is so cool to be able to do in this build. And this card is basically infinite negates, which is really insane, because you have to use a copy of Naturia Beast and Barkion to be able to make this card, and a fusion summon of this card can only be conducted with the above fusion materials. And while this card is face up on the field, you can negate the activation of a spell or trap card and destroy it by banishing 1 card from the graveyard and sending the top card of your deck to the graveyard, essentially being infinite negates, which is so cool to be able to just establish this card out on your side of the field. And it's so easy to do with the combos. It's really easy to be able to summon out your copy of Naturia Beast and Barkion once you establish your copy of Gateway to the 6 and cards that can hold Bushido counters to be able to turbo out your copies of Naturia Beast and Barkion, and then link into Proxy F Magician, fusing both of these away to summon out our copy of Exterio to just establish pretty much an unbreakable board. We then play a single copy of Shadow of the 6 Samurai, Xian. The reason we play this card as a 1-of is just because it's an additional name that we can XZ summon into to get us an additional card on our side of the field to generate more counters on our copies of our Gateway to the 6, Temple of the 6, United, and our copy of our Dojo. But this card is just really good in the build. We then play a single copy of number 60. Number 60 just helps us draw 2, discard a card. It helps us bring a monster back from the graveyard or double the attack of a monster, which is insane to be able to do. We then play 2 copies of Battle Shogun of the 6 Samurai. This is our Link 2 that we're trying to summon out that can actually search Gateway to the 6. And this card has the ability, if this card is Link Summon, you can discard a card to add a card from your deck to your hand that has the effect to place Bushido counters on it, meaning we can use this card to be able to search out our copy of Gateway to the 6, and it also has the ability that each time a 6 Samurai monster is normal or special summoned to zone this card points to, you place a Bushido counter on this card, which is amazing. And this card gains 100 attack for each Bushido counter on the field, which is crazy how big this card can get with your copies of Gateway to the 6. We then play 3 copies of Soryuja Skull Dread. This card, you can easily loop through it 3 times in this deck, and it's so easy to do in this deck to help you draw 4 and then put 3 back to bring down a monster from your hand, and it also gives your monsters that are summoned to zones this card points to 300 attack and defense points, which is just really good just to help you dig into the deck, and it's again very easy to loot through Soryuja in this deck. We then play a single copy of Appaloosa because you want to be able to establish multiple monster negates, and it's very easy to put 4 materials into this card to make sure that your opponent's not going to be able to activate monster effects. We then play a single copy of SP Little Knight because this card is crazy powerful. You don't have to play this card. You can play like Nightmare Phoenix or Nightmare Unicorn if you want to. Just in case you want to, probably Nightmare Unicorn would be a better option for a budget option for this card. But this card is really good to be able to establish because it's a double interruption. We then play a single copy of Proxy F Magician. This card is basically just walking polymerization and how we summon out our copy of Nichiria Exterio by using this card to help us fusion summon into our copies of Beast and Barkion into our Exterio, which is just really cool. Because during your main phase, you can fusion summon a fusion monster from your extract using monsters from your field as fusion material, which is great to just instantly go into your copy of Exterio. And then finally, we play a single copy of IP Masquerena. IP is great in the deck to be able to help us establish our copy of SP during the opponent's term to be able to banish cards off the field, and it's just really nice to be able to do that. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. This deck is crazy. If you guys have never played Six Samurai before, you should definitely give this build a try because this deck can establish unbreakable boards, and it's just so broken. It's just such a broken deck and so cool to be able to play, and I absolutely love Six Samurai. You don't even need a Zold for this deck anymore, which is just so cool to be able to play this deck like this. So that's gonna do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell next so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next videos. See you later, guys.